Say CJ hits 280. Going up, Ruiz does something to you by the deadline. You think it will make AJ trade Grish and or Crone with them being blocked? Here's the thing. I don't think Crone is really blocked because he plays multiple positions. You can move him to first. So if CJ hits, I think you play CJ and Cronenworth at the same time. In regards to Grisham, I think there is a scenario where he can lose playing time to an Azokar or a Ruiz or someone based on performance. But in regards to Cronenworth, I'm riding with Cronenworth. In my opinion, I feel as if, Ben, you're going to say the same thing. I think he's a key contributor. Has it been the best year? Maybe not. But has he been productive? Yeah. He's had some very productive moments, including tonight. Tonight, nothing more evident than what he did tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's not going to happen with Cronenworth being blocked anywhere. He's going to play first base if this scenario happens. Hosmer would be on the bench or DHing, at some point. Cronenworth, we saw it tonight. We've seen it numerous times, which I love. We've seen it numerous times already the past week, 2 weeks, where Bob Melvin has put Cronenworth in the game and taken Hosmer out. He's very comfortable with putting Cronenworth at first base. Personally, right now, Cronenworth's the best first baseman on this roster, and he doesn't even play first base. That's not his position. So his versatility, he can play short, can play second, can play first. He's been great in the shift. He's hitting 2 or 3 in your lineup pretty much this entire season. And, people that saw my Twitter, I got to meet Crony the other day, and so I might be a little biased, but I'm looking at the numbers too. Like, this guy, he's very, very valuable to this team. If there's someone that's going to be blocked, him and Manny, those seem like 2 guys that are easily not going to be blocked anywhere on this roster.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Cronenworth, listen, offensive numbers around baseball have been down. So Cronenworth is probably not going to have a quote-unquote career year. I mean, even if he spends, 6, 7, 8 years in a Padres uniform, if not more, maybe this won't be his best offensive season, but he's productive defensively. He's had moments offensively, and he's helped them win some games here, including tonight. You're not winning tonight without Jake Cronenworth. I mean, there's no scenario where you win tonight. Not to mention the defensive play he made, that ranging play.
Yeah.
Was it was a heck of a play. It really was here today. So, Alex, as always, thank you for the super. I want to get to this one from our buddy Michael, who's in Mexico. Thank you, Michael, for your membership and the chat here tonight. So this is a good point. I do not disagree. When you put it this way, Michael, I don't disagree. He says Grisham has trade value. He's 25. He's won a Gold Glove. He's a former first-rounder. He's got years of team control, and even last year had an above-average offensive year. Not saying he'd return a fortune, but he has value. And you're probably right. You're probably right, Michael.
Who does this also sound like?
Who does this also sound like? This would also sound like it's currently a Padre?
Yes.
Who am I missing right under my nose?
Eric Hosmer.
Oh, well, Hosmer's not.
I know he doesn't have like trade value, but you're literally – well, he is controllable because he's under contract for the next 3 years.
But controllable at that low number.
Gold Glove winner, years of team control. And there's some people that, continue to say, oh, this guy's having an okay offensive year. It's not like he's being terrible. He's not a liability. I had Alana Rizzo on from MLB Network the other day, and she tried to make that argument. It's like, watch him on defense. He is a liability, So Grisham, yes, he has more trade value than Hosmer. But a lot of those characteristics there, that sounds like Hosmer.
Fair, but I'll say this. Hosmer's in his 30s, Grisham's in his 20s. Grisham makes what, $900K a year? Hosmer makes $20 million. So there's reasons to acquire Trent Grisham. There's no reason to acquire a Hosmer unless you're getting prospects attached to him, All right, let's get to thank you, Michael, again for the super. I want to get to this one from our buddy Christopher Wright. Michael, thank you for the super, as always. Thanks for hanging out with us in the chat here tonight. Thank you for your support. Okay, so he says it's ugly. Ugly wins turn into losses in time. It was not pretty. No, it wasn't. And give Colorado some credit there late as well for not quitting on the game. I was a little surprised, to be honest with you. Rogers pitched to Crone. He fell behind 2-0. He then threw a 2-0, 94-mile-per-hour fastball, middle in, that Nomar Mazara could have made a play on, by the way, and right. It would have been a hell of a play. But then I'm thinking to myself, oh, my God, he didn't make this play. Crone's coming through. And then Crone, to Rogers' credit, got out of that spot. But, man, you are playing with fire, Ben, right? I mean, in that 9th inning, Crone in the batter's box, tying run at second, winning run in the batter's box. Like, You can't do that every single night and expect to win every single night. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that fly ball to right field down that line, it was Azokar in right field there or Mazzara?
It was Mazzara.
Okay, yeah, Mazzara. When you miss that, it feels like it's like, okay, there's that opportunity.
Yep.
Don't give him another opportunity here. It always feels like when there's pop-ups in foul territory that are dropped, you give him another pitch to hit and he hits an extra base hit. But they got the win. That's all that matters. But you obviously hope that tomorrow's win, if they get a win, is 6-3 instead of 6-5 with Rogers kind of crumbling there at the end, like he's pretty much been doing for this entire
Yeah.
month.
And then who was up? Who was up at the ninth inning? It
Well,
was
Joe had the double. Blackman had the hanging breaking or the
no. I'm
double
sorry. Who
down the
was up
right
in the
field line.
bullpen? Who was up in the bullpen? Didn't the Padres have someone up at the ninth inning behind
Uh,
Rogers? I think that they had someone throwing in the ninth inning there, and I forget who it
if it
was.
was, I would probably guess it would have been like Garcia.
Yeah, it must have been Garcia. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. Someone was throwing, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. That maybe I thought if Crone reached, that would be it for Rogers in that spot, and that's very possible.
Well, yeah, because if Crone reached, I mean, you're in real danger. I mean,
You
they were
really are.
already in danger, but yeah, if Crone reaches, like that's the game right there.
No doubt. Let's get to the super from Jesse, our buddy Jesse Mendoza in Hawaii, like Mark Nimitz, the title sponsor of the wrap up show. Jesse, thank you for the super. Jesse says, we were the better team. Rogers just almost blew it. Yeah, I think that's accurate tonight. Padres never trailed in this game, scored in the first inning. Ben, like you talked about earlier, hit 3 home runs, Manny included, Cronenworth, CJ Abrams showing off a little bit of power as well. Yeah, I do think the Padres outplayed the Rockies here tonight, but we all know that's not necessarily what matters. Padres have had some late leads that they've lost this year. They've also had some comeback wins this season as well. To your point, Ben, it's like at the end of the year, we'll never circle this game. It's just a win. I mean, you'll circle a couple of losses maybe, and potentially those losses are the reason why you are out, or a couple of wins are the reason why you are in. But this is just one of 162 over the course of a year, especially when you win it. And it's the middle of July and you're just trying to hold on until the All-Star break.
Kind of feels like they have a lot of these.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a stat during the game, during the broadcast, uh, that they said that the Padres had like the third best record in baseball this year in one-run games or something? Like they're in them
Yeah.
a lot, a lot.
Hmm.
And some of them, like tonight, they shouldn't have been in a one-run game in that ninth inning. It should have been bigger. And so yeah, the bullpen is obviously going to be something that's going to be talked about, and everyone wants a bat, and there's more holes on this roster than just getting one bat. You could talk about Adrian Morejon returning possibly this series. I know he's on the taxi squad. Michelle Baez, Jose Castillo, a bunch of guys. Um, there's no guarantee that those guys pitch great when they come back either. I mean, it's great that they're coming back, and to be honest, why do we still have Stammen on the team when he's going to be out for a while now? But there's a lot of holes still.
Yeah, there are a ton of holes. I mean, I do agree with that. And I don't even know where you start. Do you necessarily, I might have to start now from the end of a game and work backwards. I mean, good teams have to have effective closers. Simple as that. The closer situation here, it's one thing if it's a blip and it's 3 consecutive outings over the course of a really good year. Mark Melancon never went through something like this last year. Never, ever, ever. He may have had 2 or 3 bad outings in a row, but never beyond that. This guy, Taylor Rogers, has been, I mean, I would make that trade 100 out of 100 times and has had his moments, has a 9 ERA. I don't have it in front of me, but essentially a 9 ERA since May 28th. And that's not good enough for a team of this caliber. So it has to be addressed, you would think, because the wheels have fallen off with Taylor Rogers. And I don't trust his slider, and his fastball is hittable right now. And then from there, you hope to get healthier in your bullpen. I think they can. Offensively, I don't know where you start. I had Dan Zimborski on today from Fangraphs. He says, well, I think you have to start with an outfielder because they just have to get more production out of those 3 positions in general. They just have to do it. So outfield, obviously, I think you could make a case for certainly upgrading at first, however that is, if it's Cronenworth or a first baseman that you're upgrading with. starting pitching, you could even talk about that because of the Mackenzie Gore situation. I don't know what they're going to do with him in the second half of the year. Mike Clevenger coming off Tommy John. Nick Martinez, has been a guy that's gone back and forth between the rotation and the bullpen. Like, I don't think you can go wrong with adding starting pitching. But if you were adding one thing right now, Ben, if you could only add one thing, what would you add and why?
Okay, so here I'll ask this: if I was AJ Preller, what's my payroll at? Am I going to be able to
Mhm.
clear salary with other teams, or am I just going with the 1.5 million that they have room right now? Because if I'm doing that, it might be one of those relievers because relievers cost less than those outfielders or a catcher. And,
Mhm.
like you can try Chris Matt right now to be the closer and just see how that goes. Kind of like the Padres maybe trying Esther Ruiz in center so that they don't have to have Tatis there when he returns just to make sure that works and just use this time for that. I would personally go there. But I was saying this on the pregame show. Like everyone can say they want Brian Reynolds or Josh
Sure.
Bell. First of all, how many first basemen do you need? I mean, I like Josh Bell, but like that's going to be a problem at some point. Uh, you need two sides to tango here, and so what are the Cubs? What do the Cubs want for Wilson Contreras? Is Luis Camposano and someone else? Is that enough? I don't think so. What about Ian Happ, who has I think multiple years of control? There's going to be other teams that are interested in him. The Yankees are interested in Andrew Benintendi. Like, yeah, we'd all love to have this fantasy team, but the Padres right now, part of it's Preller's fault. They just don't have a lot of room to work. So I think we got to know what Seidler's willing to do. Is Peter Seidler willing to go over? Right now, I don't think he is. If he's not willing to go over, okay, then now you got to look at teams that are willing to take on these contracts, Lamet maybe, someone like that, and you attach a prospect there to clear room so you can go add, a Josh Bell type contract where it's like 5 million the rest of the year or something like that.
I think you said that very well. By the way, Cam, I'm not sure. Has anyone signed Trevor Rosenthal? I don't believe so. I haven't.
I don't think
Has,
so.
I
I
don't
don't know
think so
why they
either.
would do that though.
Yeah.
Like, who was that A's release? Yusmeiro Petit. He still hasn't come up yet. I have
Well,
no
yeah.
idea what's going
He's
on
been
there.
toiling somewhere in the
Yeah.
minors. I would say. I would say this also about the payroll, Ben, and I know you read this today. I read this today. I wasn't acutely familiar with this, but it's not just dollars. You're also giving up picks by going over. Because if
Yep.
they go over for a second consecutive year, they're giving up real picks. Their second pick and maybe their fifth or sixth pick in next year's draft. Like you're giving up pick 45. Like that's a real pick. I mean, you should hit on those picks. Not that they're hitting on all of them, and they've missed, and every team has. But teams have missed on pick number one.
They're hitting on a
Um,
lot of them. I'll say that.
yep.
We can bash Preller for trading away Ty France or for trading away Cal Quantrill, but this guy, he hits on a lot of his draft picks. Now, the developing, that is definitely something that is okay to bring up, and it's definitely a good argument or a good talking point. Yeah, this guy, this farm system, they just don't develop guys greatly. Totally understand that. But he's hit on a lot of guys. Abrams, Hassel looks like he's on the futures game roster this year. James Wood, you know, Weathers at some point he was hitting. Hit on Quantrill, obviously. Like he hits on guys, and so yeah, these
Mhm.
draft picks are very, very valuable. And so when you're messing with Preller's draft picks, that's a problem
Right.
for
It
him.
might be as much Preller. Like we talk about, hey, is Seidler going to go over this number? But like to our collective points here, does Preller want to give up picks in the future to try to win now? And you could look at that from two sides of the equation. Is he concerned about his long-term future with this organization? Probably not. He signed through
Nope.
2026. So if he's not concerned and the media is, what does he really care? If he's thinking about both the now and the future, then he might be hesitant to give up picks. If he's solely focused on the now, maybe he'd be willing to do that. The only way to avoid going over and make any sizable move, to your point, is getting rid of salary. The problem is their salary that they've spent is poorly spent, and none of those players this year are producing. Even if Hosmer was producing, it would be tough. Even if Myers was producing, maybe final year of a deal. Pomeranz, we haven't seen him. Lamet, Don't even get us started. It's not like he's making a fortune. You could save a couple of $1 million there. Jim has argued before like a Ha-Seong Kim type move, which has some cost savings to it. You could argue, Jim made this point today on radio and yesterday, I think, on the wrap-up show. Those five combined to make what, $60 to $70 million this year. If you didn't have any of those players in your organization, would you have an identical record this year? Probably, because you'd replace those five players with someone, and you'd probably have another $40 or $50 million to play with. But I don't know if they'll be able to move any of those players. I think they'll be able to move Lamet. That's my guess. I think someone would take a flyer on Lamet at that cost and say, I can, quote unquote, fix him. I don't know about the rest.
I keep bringing up Joey Gallo. I've been listening to some Yankee fans, and this last
Hmm.
series against the Red Sox, they were not happy with the bullpen depth that they have. And so if they can say, hey, we've seen what Lamet was in 2020, and when this guy isn't hurt, we think we can fix him. Because GMs are probably like us, right? If we were in the GM chair, we would say, hey, I think I can fix this guy. Joey Gallo is striking out every time that he comes to the plate. Why not give him to the other GM that loves this guy, who is a former Ranger, and we can bring in Lamet? And look, that might turn out to be better for us, speaking from the Yankees side, than having Joey Gallo on the team when we know he's not going to have at bats for us in October, which the Yankees obviously are making October. They have a huge, huge lead on that division.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep thinking the Yankees there for Lamet, possibly. But yeah, teams are definitely going to say, I think we can fix Lamet.